you're going to need a wig head and also dye. I chose black dye. Whatever color you like, you can use, but I chose black dye, and a comb as well as a brush and multiple combs and hair tools, as well as a pair of gloves to protect you from the dye, and also an old wig, human hair wig. So the first step is that we're going to take our wig and start brushing it and detangling it as well. So you want to be very careful, especially if it's very tangled. You want to start brushing from the bottom, but mine is not very tangled, but it's tangled, so you want to be very careful with it, keeping in mind that the hair lost is not going to grow back, so you want to be very careful and just brush through the wig, detangling it, because it will be much harder to detangle when it's flipped. Okay, so we're going to prepare the dye. So you want to follow the instructions that has been given to you on the box or in the paper in the box, and yeah, get started. So step 3, now that your dye is ready, you want to get your applicator, your comb, and your gloves. I'm using a toothbrush as an applicator because it's much easier to use. I find it much easier to use because it's smaller than your regular dye applicator. I haven't yet found a smaller applicator that's as small as a toothbrush. The reason why you want to use a small one is because it doesn't risk your lace being dyed. Step 4. So now you're going to put your wig on your wig head, and then I like to start from the back, working my way to the front. So I'm gonna start with a small section of hair, opening a line, and then I'm just gonna dye it. I like to start like not very close to the lace, because if it does get dyed, it becomes very messy and your wig looks nasty. So you want to be very careful with the way you dye the wig and how far up you go, like near the lace. So now that your hair has been dyed, like the whole head has been dyed, so that's what it looks like. It's gonna be very wet and even a little bit crunchy. So it's like, not crunchy, I mean like a bit hard, because the dye is setting in. So yeah, and you see that I did not get my lace dyed. I made sure that it stayed its natural color. So what you're going to do, you're going to wait for the time that you've been given, and then when the dye is now ready, like I was given 30 minutes, so now I'm going to rinse off the the dye from my wig. So you want to be very careful. You're not going to wash it, like scrub it together. You just want to dip it into the water and then squeeze it out. So you're going to dip it and squeeze it out. Because if you're going to scrub it and you're going to end up tangling it. So you just want to be very careful with it because you do not want it getting tangled, because that's just going to create extra work for yourself. So you're going to use conditioner and shampoo just like you would with your normal hair, but first you're going to rinse it out with water. Now that the hair has been rinsed, conditioned, shampooed, and conditioned, you're just going to want to take a brush that's used for wet hair and just gently brush the hair, detangling it. You want to be very careful because the hair is at its weakest when it's wet. So very careful. Just take your time. You don't want to rush the process. And you want to make sure that you combed it from the roots down to the ends. So now that the hair has been detangled, you're going to want to blow dry the wig. I'm using a hot brush at a cool setting because I don't want to ruin the hair. So you're just going to take your time to blow dry it and get it dry. Like I said, I'm using a hot brush. I find it much easier because at the same time of it drying the wig, it straightens it out a bit and detangles it at the same time. So I don't have to use a comb and a hot brush and a blow dryer. I just simply use a hot brush. Now you're going to oil the hair. You want to moisturize it because it's human hair and it gets dry, and the soap and the dye has dehydrated it a bit. So you want to add like a moisturizer for the hair, or like a hair food. I'm using coconut hair food just to feed the hair a bit. So I'm trying to get the ends as well as the roots, and also just to give it that extra shine. You're welcome to also use a spray, although I do like to use this a hair food because I find it easier. Next step, now that it's been moisturized and you've added a product to help it give it shine, you're going to take your hot brush again and just hot brush it so that it's moisturized and takes shape. So you're going to hot brush the hair until it is straight. To separate the hair and so that it does not get mixed with the other hair, and take small portions. I'm starting again at the back of the head because it's easier to work. Like I said in the previous video, that it's easier to work from the back to the top. So what I did here was that I took small portions and I ironed it I like to use a comb as well sometimes, depending how curly or straight the hair is. So you just want to make sure you have a firm hold with your eye and straighten it down to the end. Sometimes you don't have to repeat, but I like to repeat just to give it that extra curl at the bottom. So when straightening the hair, you want to make sure you have a firm grip, and if your hair is very straight, you don't have to take too much of a small section, but you want it to have small sections, but not, you can do it like in a straight line, it's also fine, like I'm doing here. Go on to the next line, and I'm just taking enough. I'm not going to take a large section this time. I'm just going to take a small section, and again just going over it once, and then the second time, and then combing it so that it's nice and straight, so that you don't have any bumps. And then we're just gonna try and make sure it's as straight as possible, so that it's easier than styling and curling, and it also looks good, because you don't want any ridges in your straight hair. And just comb as frequently as possible to avoid the hair from getting any ridges or bumps.